Welcome into Warchant TV. Happy holidays, everybody, alongside the managing editor of Warchant.com. He is Ira Schoffel. My name is Tom Lang. I'm the director of original content at Warchant.com. We apologize in advance. We're the walking wounded at Warchant and Warchant TV, but we're battling through some bugs here in Tallahassee. And today, we're going to be talking about 5 players who stepped up in the 2021 football season. 5 players who stepped up. Before we get to it, remember, everybody, hit the like button right underneath this video. If you have not done so already, hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it, because we've got all kinds of content right here at Warchant TV, both with features like this and live shows throughout the week. Jeff Cameron Show, Seminole Headlines, Monday through Fridays after the holidays are over, every day at 1 o'clock, in addition to outstanding programming like Wake Up Warchant Live, recruiting chats with Michael Langston. That season's not over, folks, and transfer portal season is not over either. That's going to be going for quite some time. So make sure to hit like and subscribe and the bell. You'll be up to date on everything FSU right here on Warchant TV. So, Ira, we were talking about this off of the video screen yesterday. We wanted to revisit some of the guys that stepped up for Florida State in 2021. Some of the players were expected and some were not. I'm interested. This is a partner piece that you can find right now on warchant.com with the full list. But what's a name that stands out to you from this past football season that stood tall and made a difference for Florida State?
I'm going to go with a guy that, I really, not to pat myself on the back, Tom, but early in preseason camp, he was a guy that I was really excited about. Really kind of going back to last spring, but then definitely in preseason camp, Treysean Ward at running back. And I think, we kind of got a hint last spring when he started having some good practices, and then FSU's coaches, Mike Norvell, actually towards the end of the spring said part of the reason they didn't go crazy signing running backs that offseason was because they felt so good about Treysean Ward, who came in as a walk-on, played a little bit in the bowl game the year before, but what they had seen in practice on the scout team, he was their scout team MVP. They really decided this is a guy that can play on Saturdays. They moved him up, put him on scholarship, and then in preseason camp, I just could not have been more impressed, not just by the way he runs. I mean, he's an athletic guy, got great vision, very good burst, kind of gets lost in traffic. He's a smaller back, but really the toughness. When you watch practice every day, we were able to watch practice every single day last season, and you get to see which guys, pull themselves out of drills, which guys miss practices, which guys, for whatever reason. Treysean Ward is one of those guys that I don't know if he missed a rep during the season. I mean, he just brings it every single day. And then what he did on Saturdays to deliver in some big moments, I think was huge. I mean, I think he, late in the season, I don't know if he got worn down. There were a couple times where maybe they limited his carries a little bit. And so maybe that's something he might need to work on. He hadn't played a full season probably since high school, and certainly not a 12-game season. So that's something maybe he needs to work on this offseason, is getting more durable, especially since he'll be in a bigger role probably going into this next season. But he'd be my guy. I love the way Treysean Ward plays. To me, he reminds me of a smaller Devontae Freeman, and I just love that style of running back.
Yeah, it's funny, Ira, in fall camp, it was probably the first week of fall camp. I'd just gotten done rewatching some of the springtime stuff, some of the B-roll that FSU had provided because of the COVID protocols, and then the game itself. And I walked over to the end zone on the far side of the practice field, and you were there. I said, "What do you think about Treysean?" But I couldn't even say Ward. And you turn your head like, "Oh yeah, that's one of the guys." Like, and he was a consistent contributor. One of my favorite 2-play sequences of the year was on the road at North Carolina. Inside of a couple minutes to go, there's a play. I forget if it was a pass or a run to the outside right. He goes out of bounds, and that's not something the coaches were looking for in the situation. The next play, I think he broke 7 tackles from Tar Heel defenders and was able to push forward. He got the first down. So he made up. He totally redeemed himself. That's not to say that Treysean isn't already a smart player and is maximized from going from a walk-on to a scholarship. I love that sequence because it shows that there was no fight, or there was no give up in Treysean Ward. He was all fight, and he's going to have to be somebody that they lean on in 2022. I'll stay on the offensive side of the ball because Darius Washington is a player that I thought was outstanding for Florida State this year. And what really started it for me, Ira, was when Robert Scott goes down to injury, and then they have to shuffle him around and move him from left tackle to right tackle. And then you check the PFF grades. Like, I understand that it's more about the eye test than it is PFF, but what first caught my attention about Darius was the grades were in the green consistently for Darius Washington coming out of most every week. After about 2 weeks of seeing that, I thought, well, okay, because from a personal standpoint, before the season started, I thought Robert Scott's your best tackle, and you got to find somebody else. And I was dead wrong about that. Darius Washington ended up being a really big-time player on this offensive line. Arguably, maybe inarguably, your best offensive lineman not named Dylan Gibbons. And after the way the previous season ended, I just wondered, given from a size standpoint and what we saw in spring camp and fall camp this year, is he really a tackle? Like, can he actually produce as a tackle? I think ideally they want to slide him inside to guard, Ira. But what was interesting to me was by the end of the year, my opinions had changed, and a lot of people around the program's opinions had changed. Darius Washington was your best tackle, and he might be your best tackle moving forward this year, unless the transfer portal provides one or two brand new bodies. So did you notice that about Darius? And maybe you had a different idea before the season started that he might have been better relative to Robert Scott's abilities.
Yeah, going back to last offseason, because I just want to go back through Darius's career. He comes in, plays late his freshman season, isn't ready, but they were just so desperate to get him on the field. Then he had that shoulder surgery, comes back the next year and plays in the COVID year, but had not had any time in the offseason to really work out because he was coming off a shoulder surgery. This offseason, when we were up at ACC kickoff together, I remember talking to Mike Norvell during a break between interviews. And I said to him, what are you expecting out of Darius this year? And he kind of gave a nod, a knowing look that, no, we really feel good about him. And, look, coaches a lot of times will boost up players that maybe aren't as good as maybe they think. But I think Darius was good. And then the other part of it, to your point, the versatility was huge because, and people may not realize this because he didn't take many snaps there, but he became their third string center. And there's some interest in him at center. He when Babian Johnson was dealing with things or Maurice Smith was dealing with things, he became the emergency center. And it's unorthodox. He had never really snapped before. But I think when you look at his size, that is the one thing I wonder about with him, to your point about his size. He doesn't look like – he certainly doesn't look like an NFL tackle, and he doesn't look like a tackle you would see. He just doesn't have that frame. He's probably 6'2". He's not 6'4", 6'5", or 6'6", or 6'7", like some of these guys. So I wonder if they will maybe look at him in the interior. I originally thought maybe he might end up going to center if you felt better about your tackles. But now they brought in the Lyles kid from Wisconsin who probably could be the center. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him. But, yeah, I mean, he might have been their most all-around, versatile, important offensive lineman. And he played, I think, every snap. So he was durable as well. And he's going to get another year working out and gaining size. So, yeah, man, I like your pick. I think Darius was certainly a huge help this season.
Yeah, one final note on that, because we weren't able to talk about it in the throws day-to-day in camp, Robert Scott was initially left tackle. Very early on, if not right at the outset, he was playing left tackle every day. And my thought was, well, they must not think much of Darius if they've already slid him to the right. And so when, Robert got hurt and had to move to right tackle, internally I'm thinking, that's it. Well, this kid didn't even work out in camp, but he more than held his own and ends up being a plus player for FSU on the offensive line. There's some more players on the list, everybody. You can find the article at warchant.com. 5 players who stood out. One player I'll just mention, but we won't go into depth about is Amarian Cooper, which, there was that moment in the Clemson game where he has the interception. You go, what? Who's hurt? Why is he out there? And next thing you know, by the end of the season, you're thinking, well, he's a solution for Florida State in the secondary. There are some others there. Before we go for this video today, though, Ira, I want to ask you a holiday question real quick. Seeing as you're a dad and you've assembled, I think, a lot of toys and or gadgets either on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, why don't you give the people a little window into the Schoffel household? What is the one toy, if I say, this was the biggest pain in the butt I've ever put together in my life, and screw that thing? Is there one that pops into your mind where you say, never again? Not for the grandkids, not for anybody will I put that thing together?
Man, that's a good question. With 3 girls growing up, it was a lot of things that were already assembled. There was a lot of like plushies and things like that. It wasn't necessarily a lot of like erector sets. I would say there was one, and I don't even know the name of it, but there was one of those kind of erector set kind of things with, I don't even know how it was supposed to work. It was like magnetic things.
Yeah.
And we tried to have it set up so that when she came, because it was from Santa, so it was going to be already put together. And it was going to be for Molly because we thought she wanted to be an engineer. And man, that thing, I just basically just walked away, and I was like, Kim, you're gonna have whatever you come up with is good, because I couldn't play with these kinds of things when I was a kid. I certainly can't not do it in my 40s, and so I just threw up my hands. But yeah, luckily we avoided a lot of the big assembly things because we had kids. We did American Girls, we did some things like that.
Yeah, my dad had to build a dollhouse once, and he said that he was ready to just punt that thing out the front door.
Right.
But that's the kind of insights you get here, everybody, at Warchant TV. It's not just about Florida State, the roster, recruiting, and all things like that. It's about assembly of Christmas toys on the holidays or during the holidays. Obviously, we wish everybody, once again, safe and happy holidays out there. There will be a second video that goes along with this where we're talking about 5 players that need to step up in the future tense in the year 2022. We hope you enjoy the content here at Warchant TV. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. For the managing editor, Ira Schoffel, my name is Tom Lang. We'll talk to you on Warchant TV next time.